I think that most Dungeons & Dragons players as they play start to develop a love for some classes and an aversion to others. For me, I wasn't a huge fan of the rogue class. Usually, in most games, we already have someone who wants to play as a rogue, so I kind of don't have the need to fill that space. I'd only played it one time before, like the second or third session that I'd started playing D&D. The story goes, I was exploring a room with the group at first level, when suddenly, a white dragon just shows up. He just, boom, there he is. The rest of the group was outside the room, and the paladin was like, "Oh no, not a dragon! Quick!" Boom. They slammed the door shut behind me. You guys, I need a little help back up here. Are you kidding? We could get hurt. So now it's just me and the dragon in the locked room. Just to kind of fade to black, let's just say my character didn't last very long in that fight. Okay, now actually it's coming back to me. I think I'm starting to remember exactly why I don't play as many rogues. But I was requiring myself to play through all the classes that I didn't play as much, so that put the rogue on top of the barrel. So fine, I'll make a rogue. It's not my favorite, but then again, actually look him over. He does only roll one attack on his turn. That sounds like my kind of guy. Also, I do really like all the skills and expertise they get. It had been several years and I knew I had to play the rogue again, but I didn't want to play as a traditional rogue with a high dex. After all, if I have a high dex, then I'll hit with an attack. And if I hit, then I have to do sneak attack and roll damage and add up the sneak attack dice. That doesn't sound like fun. Does that sound like fun to you? That sounds like the math. Ugh. I decided to make a character who was a mastermind. So we start our game and my character gets introduced. Excuse me, 18 intelligence coming through. Excuse me, 18 intelligence coming through. Excuse me. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Detective Clancy, world's greatest detective. Is your first name Tom, by any chance? I think you're thinking of a different detective. So I'm looking over the crime scene and I go, Detective Clancy's on the case. I rolled a 3, and with my mods, that adds up to a whopping 2. You have a negative number in your investigation? I thought you were supposed to be the world's greatest detective. He certainly thinks he is. I think I've just decided that I'm going to be a troll player at this point, and dumb characters are just my thing now. I'd maxed out his deception and performance so that I could pretend to be the world's greatest detective. He had voice mimicry, which let him disguise his voice and impersonate others. It came in pretty handy quite often. There was one time we had a gang selling illegal contraband, and I pretended to be a guard and confiscated their wares, stealing them for the group. Or we were dealing with a group of tabaxi, and I slipped in among them like a shadow. That sounds really suspicious, meow. I wonder who could have possibly done that, meow. Clancy also didn't remember details that well, drawing funny pictures whenever he got information. We got a massive info dump, and at the end of it I was like, I took some notes, but all I got from that were the important details, and I just drew a lady with a pair of swans where her boobs should be. There was actually a part later on in the storyline where we got to drink these potions that caused us to have a sudden surge of intelligence. I'm not actually as smart as I think I am. Which only lasted for 1 minute. Wait a second. Forget that. I'm the world's greatest detective. Of course I am. In the storyline, we went to a party, but this was a fancy place and one of the guys needed a date or he wouldn't be let in. So, I put on a disguise. Trixie Starbright, ready to go! Ding! We went through the party. We were supposed to be finding a gnome who ran the establishment. So, I found a gnome, which I thought was the guy, went up to him and said, "Hey, do you want to go somewhere private?" And led him into the bathroom, where I conked him out, tied up his body, and hid him in the closet. Turned out, I picked a guy on random, so it happened to be the wrong guy. So I went back out to the party, and found another gnome at random, and did the same thing. Okay, I think we're on a bit of a time crunch now. I've led a new guy away from the party for some private time, one after the other, and I've been through about 8 guys already, and the servants are starting to get suspicious because I keep leading a new guy away from the party every 15 minutes. Also, I've captured all of the gnomes, and now I'm just going after anyone who's short. Eventually, we did find the correct guy. They did, not me. He was not one of the ones I captured. He had been in the upper floors at the VIP section. After we got our prisoner, we had to interrogate him, but he wasn't giving us any answers, not easy at least. He was blindfolded, so I decided to do a bit with my voice mimicry.
Are you gonna answer our questions, or are we gonna have to start breaking some fingers?
You'll never break me. Oh no, let him go!
Quiet, girl.
No, don't hurt the poor girl.
That's what you get for talking out of line.
Let her go, you monster!
Are you gonna start giving us answers?
No, leave him alone! Okay, I'll talk. Just leave the girl alone. My hero. I'm honestly really surprised this came into play twice in 2 different games. When it came to combat, I would wear a basket around at all times as my disguise. In the Dwarven Citadel, there was a mushroom on the ceiling which glowed. We asked if we could take a sample of the massive mushroom, and the GM was like, haha, it's on the ceiling, you have to climb up there first, and it's really high. Later on, people saw a suspicious-looking basket just on the ceiling, slowly working the way up over the city to get to the mushroom. So, if you ever have a need for an investigator, you can always call Detective Clancy, world's greatest detective.